As you were walking out of the bar, your entourage in tow, I called your name a couple times, I could not let you go. I love you, man.
Hi, this is Aaron at Popaholic. Today I am talking with the band Flying Underground, which is producer and singer and songwriter Brian Lovey and vocalist Kelly McCracken. How are you guys doing?
We're good.
Really good, Aaron. Thanks. How are you?
Sure. Good, good. I want to talk about your debut album, basically, self-titled album. It's probably one of the strongest debuts that sort of flew under the radar last year that I was really impressed with. Particularly, Brian, all the songwriting was terrific. Start at the beginning. How did you guys get together as a band?
Well, thank goodness for the internet.
That's right, because it's done so much good for all of us. I've had Flying Underground together for a while. For a while, it was a trio with me singing for many years, and then I got spasmodic dysphonia and lost my voice. I still have it, but somehow I've managed to figure out how to speak again, and I can still sing. But anyway, I just was not feeling like I was a singer anymore. So I started looking for a singer, and I found Kelly on the internet, like a Ukrainian bride. And I looked really hard for people, and I, really came up empty-handed. But it was like just hanging in there paid off, and I found her in a video that she had done with her previous band for many years in Warren, Ohio, where she's from, called the Kellys. And I was just like, wow. She was on a site basically saying, I'm in Cincinnati and I'm looking to play music with people. So I contacted her, and the rest is history.
Awesome. So you were both relatively close geographically.
Right over the river, actually. I was living in Covington at the time, and I remember where I was standing when he called on my front porch, and it's all history.
Okay. All right, that's great. I got to tell you, some of these songs that really stood out on the album to me was obviously the first song, Above Your Head, Mixtape, which I think is a wonderfully written song. It's almost like a slice of life from the late 80s, right there. It's a wonderful song. And,
thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. And also, I really loved Raymond Thundersky, which is almost a little bit kind of like a character that would belong with Peter Pumpkinhead in The Mayor of Simpleton, in that kind of thing, because I got some XTC vibes from that song. Since I'm mentioning XTC, what is that an influence of yours, and what are your main influences when writing songs?
Well, I just, excuse me, I just have my influences, and writing songs is another thing. Speaking of the songs, by the way, so although I wrote most of the songs on the record, Kelly and I we wrote we wrote Mixtape together, as well as Cameo, and also one other one.
What's the other one?
Okay.
So Raymond Thundersky is actually, it's all true. It's just a portrait of a guy who lived here in Cincinnati, and who I saw on the street for years, who would catch your eye because he was literally an older man dressed with clown pants, an Elizabethan collar, a hard hat, a toolbox, and you would say, well, okay, who's that guy? And he was basically a somewhat autistic guy, who had this, I won't tell the whole story. I don't know if we have time, but I mean, it's all in the lyric. But
right, the local superhero.
Yeah, the cool thing about him is he likes construction sites and he likes circuses. Those were his two big interests. So he was a combination of circus clown and construction worker. And he would take his drawing stuff on the bus. He would use the public transit, and he would go to sites that were being demolished, not built. and he drew, and you can look all of this up on the internet, Raymond Thundersky, and you can look at his art.
Okay.
He did colored pencil drawings, and he would draw demolition sites. So there are pictures of buildings that are half destroyed with pipes and wires and stuff sticking out of them. And, you know, and then he might also put a circus tent somewhere as well. So just very unique and very interesting, and yeah, and I'm glad you brought it up, because at the moment I'm talking to the executors of his estate who have all his artwork. He died about 10 years ago, and they're being really cooperative and want us to just get unlimited access to all his artwork so that we can make a video. So that's what we're in the process.
Oh, wow, that would be cool. So, Kelly, let me ask you. So, were you vocally, formally trained? You got such a terrific voice. How did you get started in singing?
It started with a little mini tape player that I would just record nursery rhymes on when I was 5 years old with my mom. And from that, it went to, choirs in school and private vocal training, and then just singing along with everything I could all the time. Karaoke as I got older, and then bands when I got into my late teens and early 20s. And
did you do shows as well in high school?
I did. I was in show choir and regular choir, so just all the things. Just being on stage from an early age, junior high.
Did you have any sort of vocal touch tones when you were growing up, like, female singers that you would, admire and try to emulate a little bit when you were figuring on your own style?
The earliest ones were Taylor Dane, Debbie Gibson, Tiffany, Madonna.
Wow.
And then I got into a little more classic rock, Janice Hart, with influence from my dad's music in his realm of like Guess Who, Beatles.
Wow.
Way classic, Zeppelin. But then as I got older, a lot of 90s. Alanis Morissette's a big one.
Yeah, I hear a lot of the phrasing comes through similar to Alanis Morissette when you're doing, a lot of lyric. But it's a great, you have a great vocal, and I enjoy it on every song. In fact, one of the things about this album, if I had heard it earlier in the year, it definitely would have been in my top 10 list somewhere. You each have a favorite on the album that you want to talk about?
I do. My favorite now is Swan Dive. It's just one of those, I don't know, the chords really just do it for me. It's that song about, just letting go, and it's kind of what I'm really trying to embody in my life right now. So that could be it, but
that's a Carpe Diem song. Yeah.
just take the jump. We don't have time. Do it. So.
And interestingly, we sort of asked a lot of fans, just took a little poll like on Facebook, like, choosing your own single is always kind of weird. It's like, right. Who's your favorite kid? So I just, for fun, and Swan Dive, which really took me by surprise. I could see Kelly really digging it, or I don't know. I just didn't see it as like the one that most people would say, yeah, this is my favorite, or I'd like to hear this coming out of the radio or something. So it just goes to show that's why artists make art, and someone else helps them figure out how to sell it, I guess.
Brian, do you have a favorite or one that has a song that has a story behind it that you want to talk about?
Do I have a favorite? Mixtape was fun to do with Kelly when Kelly and I wrote that together, because it was based on kind of her experience with a friend. And of course, Raymond Thundersky was a lot of fun to sort of research and put together. But the opening track, maybe the opening track has a special place for me, because I don't know how closely you may have looked at the lyrics, or say on Bandcamp. I make reference to it, but that's actually a kind of a fanboy song about Rob Pollard from Guided by Voices.
Wow.
Because I play in another group. I also play in a pretty well-known band from the 90s called Blessed Union of Souls, who were from Cincinnati.
Yes.
So that's kind of another gig of mine. I haven't been in the band from the beginning, but I played on their records. I do a lot of session work over the years, but we were playing a gig up in Dayton. And as I was driving up, it was just kind of just this big bar up in Dayton. And then I noticed the name of Muchmore was a road off the highway to get to this place. And I was like, Muchmore, why does that sound familiar? Well, that's the name of Guided by Voices publishing company. And I realized, right, Dayton, Guided by Voices. And, Rob Pollard, this is it's actually kind of a big sports bar that has a lot of rock bands, touring rock bands. And I'm like, wow. So Rob Pollard is familiar with this area. And I'm going to kind of this big sports bar. And I don't know if you know this about him, but he was kind of a stud in high school and college as a baseball and basketball player. So he's this big sports fan. This guy who's like, he's like the Captain Picard of indie rock,
Yeah, he's probably the most prolific indie rock artist there is. I don't know anybody who has more albums than him. I mean, exactly. I think he surpassed Zappa in that regard as well.
Sure. Yeah, and yet, he's a sports guy. He was a really good athlete. So anyway, there's all this energy around him up there, that I've experienced. Also, run into some people talking about him who had him as a teacher in grade school. But so anyway, it was a nothing interaction. I played a few gigs at this place, and one night I got out, and every time I would pull into the parking lot, I go, oh, it'd be cool to run into Rob Pollard here. And as I opened the door and was getting out, I heard kind of this loud, semi-drunken, just sort of carrying on voice. I didn't know what he sounded like, but something in me said, I bet that's him. And I stood up and looked around, and it was fucking him. It was him and a couple of buddies walking out, and they were talking about a game, and he was. So it's called the song is called Above Your Head, because I was like, love you, man. You're great. And he looked over me, and he did this thing that you'll see him do is he sort of goes like this. He does this. And then I also noticed when he was talking about basketball, and he was like, shooting hoops. And actually, that's something Kelly and I both have in common as well, as we both play high school basketball. So we've played a lot of basketball. And if you check out any of our videos, we're actually playing basketball in some of our videos. But anyway, so I just microscopically zoomed in on that just very limited parking lot interaction with Rob Pollard. And just
what a cool story. I love that. I love when you end up meeting your heroes and it's not as bad as you would think it would be.
Yeah,
it's actually pretty cool.
I kept the distance, so I didn't have to be disappointed. Yeah.
Cool. There's another song that I kind of liked. It was kind of interesting. What is Wim Hof about? Who is that about?
The other one that we wrote together. Yeah.
So Wim Hof, he's in Norwegian.
Yeah,
Viking breathing meditation guy, and he holds records for being in the ice water for hours at a time, and breath holding, and cold plunges. And so there was a time, 2 summers ago, when Brian and I would go up and on a hill somewhere, just find somewhere in nature and sit back to back, and we would Wim Hof, like as a verb, because he has a session where inhale, exhale for 40 breaths, and then you do a breath hold, and we would just do this together for 3 rounds, and then it's just this state of awareness that's kind of a heightened consciousness, and we would just experience that together in different places. And so it just kind of evolved into what it is.
I mean, the lyrics kind of imply that there's a guru involved, smoking a bowl and playing guitar, that kind of thing, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's basically about getting away from any serious commitments you have, to go off and find time for yourself to
put everything on pause and
just get right.
Right. So, just as a follow-up to this album, so have you been playing this album out live? Are you going to continue to play live dates locally, or are you going to move anywhere towards the East Coast possibly, so I can see you?
Sure.
Can I just clear up that we actually have an EP before this? So there are more songs available that we recorded in 2013.
Oh no, 17.
Yeah, what am I saying? In 2017, but it's a 5-song EP, so there are more songs.
Right, there's 5-song EP and then a couple of singles, 2 or 3 singles.
Yeah,
so
I'm looking at your Bandcamp.
We're kind of the only flying underground on the internet. We've got videos and music that we had done previously. But you're right. This is our first full-length CD. And as far as touring and play, I mean, we have been playing a lot of the songs on this record out already for a while, which was nice.
Good.
I don't know if that'll be the case for the next record because we're going to just try and keep moving. So it's going to be more of a staying, not necessarily playing them out for a long time before we record them. Then that'll work itself out. But because I am writing more new songs, and Kelly and I both are, so we're playing around town. We do play locally, and we've played regionally somewhat. We would love to go out and play some other, some places further from home. And after you set that up for us to get that big 20% cut of $150 that you're going to get,
Yeah, that's how my Power Popaholic fests were back in the day in Brooklyn. If I could do it again, I'll do it again.
I think this is how I learned about you, Aaron, is through some of these Facebook groups, with regard to power pop. And so we're just trying to network with other bands and trade shows. We do well in Cincinnati, so we're ready to bring, people from Louisville, Lexington, Dayton, Columbus, and beyond, bring them on into town.
Well, hey, it's I like the idea of having like-minded artists get to know each other through my blog, through my social media channels. And
just last night, yes, or the night before last, just as I was about to go to sleep and I was checking something on my phone, a thing popped up at a club that we play pretty regularly with a promoter that we work with, that the Smoking Popes are going to be here in Cincinnati at this small club.
Oh, cool.
And I'm a huge fan. My wife turned me on to them back in the late 90s, and I just think they're great. And I know they didn't tour much. They haven't toured much recently, but like there they are, and they're going to be in town. And they're going to play a small club.
That's amazing.
Immediately.
The Woodward
at Northside Tavern.
Oh wow.
Yeah, what I in a previous interview, I had an interview with one of the singers from the Velvet Crush, and he told me about, hey, Mike Viola is playing in New York. And I said, when? He's like, oh yeah, you missed it last week. Well, luckily he's playing in March, so I'm going to see him when he comes in March, so I'm not going to miss that one.
Yeah.
Getting back to your album though, so you're working on a new album, on a follow-up. How far are you into that? What is the ETA? Are you looking at like sometime towards the end of next year, or?
Yeah, if it'd be the end. Well, it'd be the end of. I don't know. We're working on. I'm trying to be more slow and steady versus having to isolate myself for 6 weeks and crank stuff out and live on bananas and warm water, and and let all the money run out. So yeah, I'm trying to be more slow and steady. So it's hard to say. I mean, but within the next year or so, would love to put out another one. We've got we've already got some material ready. And there's already a lot of music to work with. It's just a matter of writing lyrics, finishing some songs, and playing them out a couple of times.
Keep doing what you're doing. Kelly, wear more alien outfits. I love those in the videos. And
that's why I was telling you about the previous record. I feel like you would love Rocket Ship.
I probably would.
Yeah.
I probably would. I have to go back into your catalog and listen to some of your older stuff. But for people who are listening, definitely check out Flying Underground. It's I basically highlighted them in one of my singles posts, but they're definitely somebody that they're definitely a band. They're definitely a band that needs to be heard and deserves to be heard. And I hope to hear more of them over the course of the year. Thank you so much, guys, for the interview.
You're welcome, Aaron. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for digging it and giving it so much attention. And hate everybody out there who's all part of the power pop scene. We're with you.
All right, cool.